Hello again, and welcome back to the Two Old Guys
What's up,
Reselling
guys?
Podcast. So, where have we been? That is a good question. Let's start off with something right off the bat.
Been right here the whole time.
We've not moved out of these
I've been right here. I've
in these seats. Yeah. So we're going to start off with a little topic here, comment of the week that we do right off the bat this week. And this will help explain. Mary McQueen, this is my comment. She said, okay, it's been a week since I watched this, so I don't remember specifics other than it was a great show with interesting guests talking about 2 weeks ago when we had Retro Renewed, Aaron and Amber on. They were great guests. Absolutely. She said, I just went to watch today's episode, but it appears to be missing. Maybe it's just my phone, my laptop. Maybe it's stuck in an alternate universe that I haven't been invited to. I hope it shows up in my universe eventually. So Josh just wouldn't come do the show. That's what the whole problem is.
I just flake out all the time,
Flake.
That's just the way it is, No, Caleb heard rumors that we were going to have to drink milk, and he just
I'll drink milk as long as it's not that old nasty curdled up, gross, chunky monkey milk, whatever.
No, I told Caleb before the show, I said it's all his fault. It's the guy's fault that hadn't made videos on his own channel. He don't show up for the podcast. He don't list on eBay. He calls himself a reseller. I mean, I don't know what the guy does with his time.
We've been doing for the whole last week and a half, right?
Yeah.
I may have a video out on my channel before this drops, just depending on editing. It could be before that, possible, that will answer all those questions. So we kind of both had a week of stuff that held us from matching times, I guess you could say, finding common time. Mine was we have been renovating the porch on the reselling building, connecting it to the house and all that stuff. And it's basically done now, finally. We built a ramp, built steps, connected the porch, put up handrails, or not handrails, but rails. And we've got to do a few more things, but it's basically done until I get some parts and pieces. But yeah, we worked on that last Tuesday. Let's see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and today.
Yeah.
And Monday and today. Today we only worked on it about an hour. That was just putting up the last few pieces of underpinning around the front of the porch there and around the front of the house, and putting some dirt around the ramp to build it up and get it all perfectly smooth where the water had run away and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're interested to see what the old Paths is going to look like with its porch, not yet stained, but built, you can come over and watch that video and you'll see. But you had a camp meeting going on too at your church.
Oh, yeah. So we, I guess it's been probably 7 or 8 years ago now. We, for the first time, went up to Taylorsville, North Carolina. Several of us families from church, and they've been having a camp meeting there. It's been going on every year for like 60 years now. And they do it for 2 weeks. They do 2 weeks back to back. They do take the weekend off and have their regular, like Saturday to rest, Sunday at their home churches, and then come back. But myself and our pastor, we had talked about it several times after the first year or two that we went, and really had it in our hearts to want to do something like that in our community, in our area. Because there's some in Alabama that we've learned about since then, but there's none real close to us. And so we have been, praying about it, batting around the ideas for quite a while. And we were talking about it again, this year as we were getting into the middle of the year or so. And it's like, well, we've been looking for land. We've looked at different places, maybe to buy some land, because we wanted to put up like an outdoor tabernacle, like a metal building that we could open up during the fall when the weather's nice, like just have some roll-up doors down the sides of it. And we were just having trouble finding the right spot, finding a spot that, made sense financially and, all that, but not trying to give too long an answer. But we decided, if we were going to do this, we felt burdened about it so bad. We needed just to start. And so we decided this year we plan to have it in the church this year. And so we want it to be more open, because it's want to be more, less about our church and more about the church at large, but we needed to get started. So we planned it out. We had services Monday through Friday last week, and we had 2 preachers each night. Started at 6:30. We ate, had fellowship afterward every night, and it was just a great, great week. And in the midst of us planning to go forward, right across the road from the church, we were able to, and it was a family member, but they offered to sell us a half acre of land right next to the church for us to clear on the other side of the road for us to be able to put up a tabernacle for next year. So
Awesome.
we're hoping that by next year we can have it outside like we planned to. And the weather was so nice this year, man. It would have been perfect this last week if we'd have had that available. But that's all good. But it went great. Such a great week. I mean, we just had the crowd. It was amazing. We were just blown away. We live in a very, very rural area. I'm talking about it. I have trouble with that word. Rural. Rural. I don't get the second R in there. But anyway, we live in a very, very country, very countrified area. There's not a large population at all within,
uninhabited area.
I mean, really, you can drive 30 miles almost in almost any direction without, before you get to any kind of town or city that's any size. So it's very, very, kind of in the middle of nowhere, you would say. Mm-hmm. But we probably averaged, we couldn't really even do a count. It was hard to count because it was so full. And our sanctuary, our new building, probably full capacity will hold at least 250 probably. And I'm confident. I know we had over 150 every night, and I'm pretty sure on our fullest nights we probably had 200 people.
Wow.
I mean, it was full really every single night of the week, and we probably had 100 or better stay to eat every single night. Wow. I mean, it was like homecoming every single night.
No, I get down with that.
Yeah, but it was when churches came together. We had 3 other churches in the community that did the meal for a night. So we did the first night. We had 3 other churches, and then we had a young couple in our church that when we sent out information about the meeting ahead of time, and churches volunteered to do that. We had one night that wasn't accounted for on Friday, and we had assumed that our church would do that. And this young couple, they're in their early 20s in our church, they came to the church and said, we really want to do it on that night ourselves. Wow. So they cooked fed everybody by themselves that night. I mean, it was just, there was so much just amazing stuff. People just decided to do their part for God. And that was, just had a great week. Hope that didn't wear anybody out, but just a great week. I love bragging on the church and bragging on God. So
yeah, that's the best way to do work right there too. You can never go wrong.
But that's what we were doing last week. So it was a busy week.
And I said that's because we had trouble finding common time because, I was working during the day and you was at church during the night.
Yeah.
Every night. And by the time I got done, I was zapped.
Yeah.
When you take an old guy that don't work for a living and you make him work all week, like I was zapped.
I bet Logan was proud of you.
I doubt it. He might. I did. We hired my wife's uncle, which he still says he ain't taking no pay, but we always try to pay him. And we also hired Barrett, my nephew. He helped us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then yesterday and today a little bit. But I mean, I told the kids, I'm like, hey, I've got some stuff around here that if you want to help me do it, I'll pay you, because if you don't do it, I'm going to have to hire somebody else to do it.
Oh yeah.
Like, cutting up trees and hauling off brush and clean. One thing was cleaning out from under the porch. We're going to put gravel and make it nice under there. Like, hey, if you just want to shovel the gravel, 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour, whatever, we'll figure that out and make it fair. And if you want to do it, I'd rather pay you to do it than to pay some landscaping company to do it. But I didn't make them do it, just give them the opportunity. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a crazy, busy kind of week. Other good news, me and you was talking about this a little bit earlier, and you mentioned it the other night in a message. You had a couple of videos do pretty good, got monetized fully, making money, rich man.
Oh man,
now.
Almost $20 already.
Yep. And about to hit 1,300 subs. You're gonna pass me up. Like I'm losing them, you're gaining them. So yeah.
I mean,
pass me.
You've been broke down in the shop since the meetup nearly. I mean,
Well, that's true. I have
it's easy
lost.
to pass the car that's not moving.
I looked at my sub count today or yesterday, and it's the first time I've looked in like 2 weeks. I'd lost like 6 subs.
Oh man.
I'm like, oh my, people are getting tired of me not making videos. They're leaving. But at the same time, I think some of that still exists where accounts are dying out and stuff too. And
oh yeah,
the kind of normalization of that. But
and there's a moving on. I experienced some of that too. Anytime that I've let things slip and didn't put a video out for a couple of weeks, and I've not done that but a couple of times. But the times that I've done that, usually toward the end of that 2-week run, it gets to where there's not enough positive traction sub wise that you'll have those days with no total subs, or you'll have one lost, and you might have one gain the next day, then 2 lost, then 1 gain, 3 gain, 2 lost, and that's just the nature of it, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
well,
consistency,
we went through all that comment of the week stuff, and you never had a comment. That was just
we were just having a good conversation. You was explaining, we were explaining the context of Mary's comment and the why we weren't here. But my comment that I went with was from Jen Lambert 113. I'm not sure if she's come in before or not, but she was remarked, said, my brothers used to have, and I know she meant WWE matches on the trampoline. I said, remember the Super Sardine? And then that did at Retro. So evidently there's something to do with that between, her and she may be a viewer of Retro Renewed. But I just thought about the trampoline stuff because it made me think about, we didn't do WWE matches, but I think every kid at some point, we never had a trampoline. I was only on one a few times, handful of times as a kid, because I didn't really have any family that had one much. But when my brother got married, sometimes I would go with him up to his in-laws, and there was a trampoline there, and there were several houses in the area. There was one trampoline that a lot of the kids would go jump on. And his wife's brother, he was older, but he's disabled. And so, so he was bigger than everybody, but, played with us like kids, and so he was on there, and he is so much bigger. He bounced me so hard. I went off that trampoline. My shorts caught on the spring as I was tumbling off of it, and I was hanging upside down by my shorts, nearly ripped completely off, about this far from the ground, just dangling and stuck. And I mean, I was traumatized. I was little still. I was pretty young. I was like maybe 8 years old or something like that. So, I mean, I was just like, I'm over. It's done. It's done.
No more trampolines.
Yeah, I'm done. But anyway, made me remember that. And I know you've talked about having those backyard wrestling matches. I thought that's a good comment. I think we've all we wrestled. I just don't think we ever called it like WWF. We just got in the floor and wrestled. We boxed too. I remember boxing with my friends. You put the old gloves on, and put a mouthpiece in if you were smart. Some of us didn't have one, but fun times though. I remember it. I didn't get to do it a whole lot, but I'm so small at stature, height wise, and my arms are so short. I was at a big disadvantage on most of my friends because a lot of my friends were like 6 foot, 6'3", long arms, and they could stand way back. So I had to just cover myself up and bull into their gut, and I just get in. I'd bull in and push till I could get them up against the wall and draw back and punch them in the gut, and it was usually over. I couldn't reach their head half the time, so I'd swing for the lower parts.
Yeah.
But I learned that word. You turn them hips behind the right hook into the kidney, and I think they want to quit faster than when you hit them in the face. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I've done that more than one time where you give them that good lick and like, I'm done. It's like, it's it. I'm through. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But we had fun.
Our times was always, we get out on the trampoline until somebody got hurt. That was our.
Yeah. It's always till somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. I don't know how many times my head bounced off the metal.
Oh man.
It was our generation that caused the trampoline makers to create that pad that goes around the springs. It was our generation that provoked all that.
Did y'all play smear? And I'm not trying to be able to. Did y'all play smear with football?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever's got the football, you just typically it's run for. Now here's again, so anybody that's met me in person, I'll say I'm 5'6", and I might be fudging it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But But even when I was young, you know, I grew up on the sawmill and stuff like that, and I was always really big. I'm heavy now, overweight, heavier, but I mean, when I was in high school, I weighed 200 pounds or more at just 5'6". I was usually about 215, 220. By 19 or 20, I was 235, and I was pretty solid. Now I'm 245, you know, and I'm not solid anywhere. But 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 anyway, my philosophy always was, because I so low to the ground, when if I ever had the ball, I chased people. I mean, I was always afraid to get hit, because I mean, you know, you get blindsided, it hurts. So anytime I picked up the ball, was playing smear, my first objective was run to the crowd. I wanted to run. I mean, I wanted to clock hard as I could run, and then they'd dodge you. And I said, okay, I got this thing figured out. You know, they don't want to be hit by me, so I'll just run toward them, and that way I don't have to get hit.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a good idea. Phone call.
Of course, my friends that were, you know, 85 pounds, they didn't quite have that same philosophy.
Yeah.
5'10" and 92 pounds at 14 years old. It's like, no, sir, I'm not running toward the fire.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, we did play that a few times. I was never fast enough to get away, but I was big enough to take. Man, okay. My wife is calling me over and over and over, and I'm trying to tell her we're on a podcast here. We're on a show. It's not working. She's called me 3 times. It'll probably ring again. Let's just see. We might have to answer her live here on the show.
Oh, she would love that.
She would love that.
Oh, you know, we need a call-in feature. How do we set that up? That'd be, we have to be live, but that would be good stuff.
That's an idea. Like,
yeah,
call in to the 2 Old Guys and share your comments.
Yeah.
I wonder if I know there's a way to get them on the show, but like,
it'd be nice if there's a way to do a live show and just have calls just like they do on the radio. Just pipe the voice through on the phone, just the voice only, just for a quick little hello. Yeah. That's the thought. We'll work on that. We're all about ideas. We don't always follow through on them, but we're all about some ideas.
I come up with all kinds of ideas. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm an idea machine, man.
Like, I'm going to sell on eBay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think I'll buy 700 records so I can just look at them and wonder, what am I going to do with these now?
Oh my goodness!
Oh man,
funny.
You know how it is.
I know exactly how.
I'll get there. You know what I mean? But I'm slow moving. Everybody, I keep getting questions like, "You got any of those listed? Got any of that? Sold any of them yet?" And I'm like, man, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to go about doing this. Like, to me, it's important. Like I told my wife, I was talking about that, and I said, if I bought 3 records at a yard sale, I'd bring them home and list them. But when you buy that many and they're old, and I don't have a huge, amount of knowledge already built up about it, they're going to get sold and they're going to get listed. But I feel like I need to be careful going into it so that I don't create a mess for myself. I don't want to get 150 of them listed and realize I've messed up on 75 of them, and now I got issues I'm having to go back and redo and work or pull them down. And so I want to know that I'm headed down the right road before I start listing that amount of any one item. But
who was it? Was it Aaron that said he always rated his stuff a little below what it actually was? Yeah. That was good advice, because especially for new people,
right?
Like it's super hard to be an expert in every way.
Oh man,
it's just so hard.
Oh, I've had some interesting comments, man. Now that video, when it got a little attention, from some of the collectors and stuff that have saw the video, and of course, some are, not harshly mean critical, but a lot of these don't see where you're getting this. You'll never get this much for that. Or I'm like, when I respond, I'm like, look, I will admit, first off, I'm no expert. I'm learning. I'm doing the best I can with eBay comps. Not even triggered or anything. Just saying, look, I hope I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm just making a video and carrying you through what I'm doing as I'm learning. I'm doing the best I can. And I said, I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate when people that know a lot more than you do actually tell you something. Sometimes I think, instead of just telling someone how they don't know what they're doing, how about be specific and say, okay, on this, when you said this about this, you need to make sure you check this, And I've had some really good feedback like that, where I've already learned there's some things I need to be careful of.
That's a good deal. There's a word in there you use, triggered.
Yeah.
I was looking on Facebook there a while back, and one of these groups that I'm in, it's a reselling group, and one guy was talking about something he sold that was really good, and another guy come in there and was just like low hanging fruit, and I'm like, I'm all like,
Wow.
basically saying you're just trying to find the high dollar stuff, and I'm thinking, so if he's finding $50 average sale price items, is that not good? I mean, the argument was you should sell everything worth anything. Well, that's an argument to make, I guess. But
Yes,
if I'm going to be successful, I would rather my average sales price be $100, right? Like,
oh, absolutely,
that'd be a great average sales price. But I know it's not always possible, and sometimes depending on geographic location, you might have to buy a little lower end items. But yeah, people
Well,
just
I think one of the hard things to grapple with, I don't know about you, but for me, when sourcing inventory, is getting over this idea that we're going to be able to fill our store up with $75 to $100 items that we're only paying $1 or $2 for. The reality is, if we're going to have 1,000 items listed or more, and the average list price be $100 or more, we're probably going to have $25, $30, $40 average buy cost in a lot of those, and just be doubling our money. But the difference is, I'm going to be listing one item that I paid $40 for, sell it for 100 or 110, make $50 off of one listing, or I can pay $3 to $5 for 4 or 5 items, right? Sell them for $15 to $20 a piece and make the same amount of money, but spend 30 or 40 minutes doing all the listings. Or I can do 5 minutes on one item I invest in, make the same money when it sells. And it's a tug of war, because I get anxious about having that much money tied up in so many items sitting on the shelf when I can go source at a cheap price. But I do think for growth, these people that are doing these much larger numbers, a lot of times, that don't have a lot of people working for them, that are doing it primarily themselves, they're moving their knowledge base and their sourcing base into higher demand categories and higher price categories. And that's a great strategy if you have the capital to pull it off and you can create the revenue to invest in it. I think it's something that most of us have to do slowly over time. But heck, I'd much rather have 10 items sitting in front of me right now that are listed for $100 or more than 10 $10 items. Who wouldn't?
Yep. It just, I don't know. I guess people just look at it different. At the end of the day, Bill made a good comment one time. He said, if I pay X amount and I sell it for X amount at the end of the month, if I made money, then I succeeded. But if I lost money, I failed. That's a pretty simple formula to follow. We're trying to make money. And depending on the amount of success you want to make more money. It's a pretty simple formula.
The only thing is, I'm sorry, I was going to say one last thought on that. The only thing is, and this is where my mind, I see both sides of it. But on the other side of that is, I'm blessed that my wife works, your wife works. We don't depend on this as our only, people out there that are doing this as a team, a husband and wife, or doing it and they are the sole provider of income for their home, for their family. It's easy to make that statement.
It is.
But, by the same token, there's a reason why, if we're working a job making minimum wage and someone offers us a job making $20 an hour, why we leave the job making minimum wage and go to the job making $20 an hour. And then if we get offered $30 an hour a year from then at a different job, we leave the 20 and go to the 30, because we're trying to make mortgage payments and car payments and insurance payments and, all these other things. And you can't do it off of the minimum wage job, not by itself. It's not going to cover all of those things.
Right.
There are people working for minimum wage. I don't want to trigger no one on that. And I'm not there. I've worked for it a lot of times in my life, so don't get me wrong, but you're not going to have, say what we see as the middle class ideal, right? Of 2 cars in the driveway, a house payment, and all these things, and be able to make it off of just that. Most people that are doing that are working multiple jobs, or they have multiple income earners in the household. And we all know this. And everyone generally that's in that situation would trade their 2 minimum wage jobs for one job that pays them the combined amount that those 2 pay. And I think in reselling, it's the same thing. Yes, we want to make money at the end of the day. But if I'm buying a bunch of cheap items, making $1 or $2 per item, only making $500 a month, I'm not going to get very far.
Right.
So we've got to think in terms. I may not be able to get all the way to the top of the mountain, but I want to climb toward that as I grow as a reseller.
Absolutely. What next? Oh, now I know what I was going to say. Okay, we're going to do something right here that we don't do on this show. You ready? We're going to talk politics. You ready?
Oh boy, let's do it.
You going to vote?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good talk.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was good.
Everybody should vote.
I liked it.
Hey, no, I know you don't want to get into that, but I'll say this. That's one of the things, because as a teacher and teaching social sciences, it's a touchy thing anytime you bring up politics around people. But trying to teach the kids, I try to be objective. It's like, look, I've got my opinions, I've got my beliefs. I'm anyone that hangs around me or knows me for any amount of time knows that I'm very conservative in how I live my life. Period. It has outside of politics. I'm not a chance taker. I'm a conservative. I'm a person, just not such conservative politics, but I'm just very square. I'm very traditional. That's just how I've always been. But I always tell my kids, everyone's got to, the best thing you can do is be informed. Number one, most people just, I would tell my kids that don't just make a decision because my mom, my dad, my grandparents, because so-and-so. Do it for yourself. And I tell them, you do not have to agree with me. You don't have to vote the way I would vote, but at least when you vote, know enough about why you're voting to have a conviction for why you're doing it. Don't just do it as a whim. Everybody should go vote, but man, let's care enough about our country and about what we believe to actually feel convicted in why we're voting the way we're voting, no matter which side we land on. If there's no passion behind it, I mean, what good is it's just a number?
Yeah,
it's just a number.
So there you have it. Two old guys encourage you to vote.
That's it.
Not telling you how, not asking you how, just telling you
do your civic duty.
A privilege to vote. Let's go vote.
And be informed.
And Matt, I tell you, without getting into either side, because we don't want to push anybody, but it has been an interesting season. I'll just say it like that. It has been something else to watch.
It's something else. You're
right.
Something
else. Completely.
Oh, man.
So let's shout out. You mentioned this earlier, and I thought we could just shout it out today. We can give a little more information on it later in the coming weeks, months. But Planes to Profit, man, that's coming up in March. Grams and Pops and Ink Picker putting on the Planes to Profit. That's going to be their second reseller meetup. And is it going to be in Omaha again?
Yes, it's in Omaha. Same place.
Same place.
Same hotel downtown. I'm not good with names and stuff, so I don't remember the name, but it's the same hotel, same place, same venue.
Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. So if you're in the Midwest and interested in a reseller meetup, that would be a good one to go to. Corey and Teresa's good folks. I haven't met Ink Picker. I'm not super familiar with her. I have seen her in the community a little bit, but I'm going to be honest. I have been so disconnected in the especially these last couple of weeks working on the porch. But for the last month, probably, I've been so disconnected from anything YouTube. I wouldn't have a clue what's going on in our community right now. So I just know that there's a meetup coming. We are official supporters of that meetup. Yeah. So we're trying to help those guys get the word out about it a little bit and help them get something going there.
And I feel you, and on that, and to those that are maybe used to seeing me pop up in chats and stuff. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to have a lot of time to do that again. I still try, but
it's hard.
My mom hasn't been. She used to go, to carrying days. She was doing that 2 to 3 days a week, and she just, just all of a sudden, I mean, just adamantly, she would not go, and she hadn't been for over a month now. I think close to 2 months, nearly. And so, I don't mind. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, I've got her every day, all day, so it's just harder. It's all day, all evening. I haven't really got to source much either, unless I can set up a Facebook buy that I can carry her with me to meet somebody. That's about it. So, so it's just been interesting. It's just different. Just you have to learn different methods, have to do things differently. And, normally I'd have the TV play and stuff, so I get to keep up at least while I'm working with content, but she don't like watching reseller content. So if I'm in there working, I put on something she likes, and that plays in the background while I'm working. So I love all you guys, and I'll, I'll be back in touch one day, a little more up to speed, but I'm in the same boat you are, Caleb.
Yeah, mine's just I used to keep the content planned when I was out in the shed listing and stuff. And now, I'm in the hallway. So it's kind of hard because there's people over here and people in there. And it's like, you can't do it the same way, especially when the kids are in there doing math and English and science. And it's like, oh my. So you have to be considerate. So it kills your time a little bit. But yeah, same here. We love you guys. We'll be back when we can get back. And we're getting there. Now that I got that porch done, I got to get the electrical done. Like that, my goal right now, my main objective is to have my electrical and my insulation and my HVAC done before the end of the year. If I can do those three things, I could actually move out there in that shape. I could set it. I mean, the only thing that's not out there right now is my listing desk. I could basically just move it out there. Yeah. Hook up a couple of outlets, hook up a couple of lights, and work out there. If I had it insulated and heated, I could work out there. Yeah. And then when the springtime comes around, I've got my racks on wheels, except for a few of them. We've talked about that. I'm going to put more rack wheels on them later. Yep. And then just roll that stuff out. Now that I've got it all connected, I can roll it out, roll it up on the other porch, lay it all out there, go on vacation mode for a week, have somebody come in and sheetrock it, and then floor it, and move everything back in. And then I'm basically done. Right. Outside of a few other little things. But yeah, the insulation, insulation, wiring, and the HVAC is my major goals before the end of the year. That porch was step one, man. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Walking around there with me, like it was hard to get in and out. Like it was just not convenient at all. But now it's super convenient. We took down the wire, on the porch rails, the middle section of the porch on that side. We cut the wires. So there's an actual walkthrough. Like you can just walk right over to the other porch, go down the ramp, go across, go up, whatever. Barrett says hello. He just walked in the door. What's up, Barrett? Yeah, we're recording. You want to be on the show? Oh, very great. He said no. Never. But yeah, it's going to be super nice. And I got them steps coming down the front. Right. So where I showed you where we're going to do the circle drive, once I get that done, I'm going to have my own little parking spot over there so I can come out the steps, go straight to the truck. I can come down the ramp, go around to the truck, just try to make it as easy as possible. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And now that we got the mule, we can carry totes back and forth on the mule too. So now that you got two mules, me and the Japanese mule. Yeah. That's it. Oh man. But yeah, it's kind of the same with me. Projects are going to make a big difference getting some things completed, and we're getting closer. And I've got a video that I've had ready for a couple of days, just got the thumbnail ready to go. But I had a couple of videos that were doing pretty good. So I didn't want to, throw a monkey wrench in the algorithm if it was liking me at the time being. So I've kind of held it for a day or two, but I hopefully get it out this afternoon or this evening. And, we've had the sheetrock finished in the place that we were building next to us for Mom. And, the HVAC's installed, sheetrock's finished. The wiring is, I got to wire the box, the inside box, inside panel. And I got a few outlets to wire in. And I think maybe one or two switches. Most of that's pretty well done. Got to wipe the walls and ceiling down. I've already bought the paint, and a young man from church that I taught some years back, he paints a little bit on the side. So I'm gonna let him come in and do the painting. Cool. I can't leave Mom for 3 or 4 hours at a time now. I mean, I don't have those days. I was having a couple of days a week where I could either go source or go work and do things outside, cut grass, do all that stuff. And now all that's just gotten to be a lot more challenging because I can't really leave her unattended for 3 or 4 hours at a time. She might get into something. I had to turn the stove off to, things like cut the breaker off, you know what I mean? To make sure that, we don't have nothing happen, even if I'm out for just a little while. So it's just made that more challenging, but I got him coming to do that, and hopefully have the paint done soon. I'm actually thinking about going ahead and putting the floor down first and letting him use drop cloth so that I don't have to crawl around and paint the baseboard when it goes down. Because if he paints now, I'll have to go back, and caulk and do the baseboard. But so I'm actually thinking about picking the flooring up and getting that installed and going ahead and finishing all the trim, getting that last little bit of trim done, and then having paint everything when he comes in. So
We're getting close. I mean, and I'll have an eBay space and I can move all of my stuff into that little side part. And all that's in my video that's coming out. I'm showing, you can actually see the rooms now because the sheetrock's up and finished. So you can actually see how it's divided. When you're looking through studs, it's kind of hard sometimes, but you can see it really well. So I'm excited to share that. And it won't be a video that does very well because it's going to mostly be for the 25 people that actually want to know. But for the ones that do, they like seeing what's changed, so they can watch it, and then I'll try to do something better for the algorithm later in the week.
Well, let's move into another segment.
Let's do it.
Since I'm going to be a great host today, let's hit up sale of the week.
All righty.
I had a pretty good sale. The weekend wasn't great. I had 8, but about $200 and something. Not super good, but not going to complain. Before we do this, them horses that I sold?
Yes.
Remember the big blow mold horses?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on, but I measured those. I had the measurements right. I had the weight right, and FedEx upcharged me. You know how much they upcharged me?
Oh, if they upcharged, it went to the next big step, no doubt.
No. They must have overnighted it or something. I don't know what they did. $333 extra.
No, sir.
And I'm like, I've got to contact whoever, FedEx, eBay, whatever, because something was not right. I was like, how could it? Because I already paid $130, whatever. What did I tell you, like $130 or something?
Yeah,
120,
well,
30.
The reality is, even if they've got some kind of rule that says after a certain size, say it has to be overnight, like it don't go on the truck, eBay should have that in there to where once you put the dimensions in, it automatically kicks it to that price, so you know not to select it.
Yep.
If they didn't, that's on eBay.
They said my measurements was off, which they wasn't. They added like 3 inches one way, 2 or 3 inches the other way, and like 2 or 3 inches to the depth. And I'm like, I know how to read a tape measure. I do this every day. And then they added my weight. They raised my weight by like 5 or 6 pounds. And I'm like, there's no way. My scale is dead on. Like how? So it's just one of them things. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else ever runs into that, but I had it happen a couple times before, but it's usually nothing major. $1, maybe a couple of dollars. And it's something you just kind of let it go. But this one was $333. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like it made me lose money. Like I went from making $150 to losing $150, $70, just
that's crazy, man.
So I told Tanya, I said, so either we're going to quit doing big stuff altogether, or I'm going to figure this carrier stuff out. And, like something's got to give.
And here's the thing. There's a good example right there. Cause we've had this discussion ourselves behind camera several times. The calculated versus free shipping debate. That's a great example because I know I made the comment about that, well, if it had been me, I would have had it on calculated just to make sure that my bases were covered. But that in that circumstance, it would not have mattered because if you choose a selection based on your dimensions and weight that says it costs X amount, and then you get upcharged by the carrier, it don't matter how you set it up. They're not passing that on to the buyer. They're passing that on to you.
Yeah.
So, we'd have both been in trouble on that one, even though we approach it from 2 different angles.
And I just don't like it because, if I was sneaky and trying to subtract a couple inches, which people do that, they say, well, this box was 12 by 10 by 5. And they'll say, well, it was 10 by 8 by 4. That happens. But if I was doing that and I got busted, okay. But this, I measured it. Everything's. So what I've been doing here lately is if it's like 12 inches and just a hair over, I'm like 13. I'm just going to go ahead and say, even though like I've got a great example sitting over here. It's a 17 by 11 by 13 from Walmart. But if you measure that box, it's like 17 and a quarter.
Oh, yeah.
You
have to do 18.
Yeah. So I've just been going 18 by 12 just to be safe.
Whatever the nominal number is on a Walmart box, it don't matter if some of them are 0.5, something 0.5. But if it gives you a round number, you better just count it the next inch up. Their 6 by 6 by 6 box is a 7 by 7 by 7 box. That's what it is. Because it's about 6 1/4, 6 3/8 every direction you measure it.
Yep.
And if you put anything in it with your paper, if it pushes the sides out any at all, then you're getting even closer to 6.5. But yeah, that happens a lot.
Crazy. Okay, let's get back to our sell of the week here.
No, you're good. But I was gonna say I don't know. I'm curious what some of those of you that watch what y'all do. I will do this. Like you may do it too. I know you're supposed to round up, but like if I have a package that says 12.01 ounces, then I'll put it in at 12 ounces.
That's what I do too. But I won't.
If it's 12.1 or 12.2, that's a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between 1/10 or 2/10 of an ounce and 1/100th of an ounce.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the way I always look at it is if they do decide to make it a 16-ounce rate, I'm going to pay another $1.50 on but I'm not going to automatically charge myself for that when there's a very high chance that they wouldn't have anyway. But anyhow,
and the thing about it is too, if my scale was wrong, or I just didn't know how to measure, that would show up eventually. But I get these rate emails all the time. Sometimes it says, you've been charged, a couple bucks because you didn't measure, whatever. But then I get them where they say I over measured or I overweighed. And it's like, well, I can't be doing both.
Right.
So somebody somewhere is just, I don't know. It's a kooky thing that we have.
It is. All right. So my sale of the week, sometime back, I had bought a bunch of Bose stuff from one of my local thrift stores. I mean, I had a whole cart full of it. I had the cube speakers, like the double cubes, single cubes, subwoofers, all kinds of wires. Just they had all kinds of Bose stuff that day. And I sold the Acoustimass 600 speaker wires, a full set that have the RCA attachments on both ends. Mm-hmm. I think there's 5 of them, and I sold them for $83.60.
Wow. I've done that before.
Yeah. I parted everything out on that because you do better. There were mounts. I had the mounts for the wall. Like I took everything apart, separated everything out. Because if I could have sold it all together and made a pretty good profit and probably sold it a little quicker, like everything is one set, but I probably would have made like a third less total off of it. Yeah. I'm probably making an extra $100 by parting it out.
Did you get the one of them Bose systems? The remote's worth like $100.
No, I didn't have the remote on this. It didn't have the. They didn't have a. This was okay. So this was the Acoustimass speaker system. They didn't have the Soundwave radio or nothing like that went with it. Okay. They had I think it was a Yamaha. I did get the receiver and radio and stuff they had. Whoever made the donation, their entire setup was there, and I bought the stuff they had because it was really good. And the Yamaha had the remote. It's a big old remote, like big remote. I mean, it flips open, got all kind of. It's worth a good bit. But I haven't listed it because I haven't got to test the receiver yet. And I don't know if I want to separate them yet until I see how the receiver is. So anyway.
Yeah, I bought a set like that. Well, I bought an actual, the Bose was the sound system itself, like the home audio systems.
Yeah, yeah.
And that remote on that one was like 110.
Oh, yeah.
But I gave $200 for the whole set, and I told Tanya, I said, well, I may have messed up, but I think I'll do okay. We get home, and I'm looking it up, and the remote and the speaker wires paid for everything.
Oh, yeah.
I had a ton of speakers, and I had I had one box that went with it. I can't remember. It was like maybe the remote control signal box or something. I can't remember. It's been a while.
That little Cinemate box, that little receiver box, that sells for a high dollar.
Yeah, it was a pretty good little.
It's called the Cinemate.
Okay, yeah,
it's been
so long. I just can't remember that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a very good buy. I ended up making $500 or $600 off 200. So it was pretty good. So this week we sold a Danbury Mint Disney Winnie the Pooh train. Is really cool. We did pay up a little bit for it. Tanya said we was in, I think it was back when we was at a community sale, and she decided she wanted it. We paid $40 for it, and I'm like, I really don't think it's worth paying that. But she said, well, if it don't sell, I'll just keep it or whatever. I said, all right, if you're sure, So when we got it home, I got to looking through, and of course the comps was just kind of, some had sold for 100, some had sold for 50. It's just kind of all over the place. Well, ours was complete. It was in the packaging, everything. I was like, I'm just going to try to get a decent profit since I paid $40. I'm going to try to get a decent profit. So I listed it for $129, and it sold pretty quick. Yeah. I'm not sure what makes the difference, just the condition and all that, and it having the box and the styrofoam, but it sold pretty quick. So we made about, I don't know, $50 on it or something.
I think too, sometimes people that buy those types of collectibles, that tend to buy things like that when they're looking at options, and one option, if they're already going to be spending $75 or $80 and it doesn't even have the original styrofoam with it, and they're having to risk it getting to them in one piece and the people packing it well, because so much stuff like that, it arrives and a piece is broke off, or something's wrong. And so I do think there's a lot of incentive for people that are, if they're already willing to spend $75, what's 100 or 115 if you're going to get all the paperwork, the original box, the original styrofoam, and then that's going to be packed into a box, and you're pretty much guaranteed, minus it getting run over, that it's going to make it to you in one piece, because they want the item at the end of the day. It's not just how cheap can I get it. I mean, I'm sure they'd love to run up on it at a yard sale in perfect condition for $5, but
But that's what we're here for, right?
Exactly. We're the mediator on those deals. So,
yep. All right. How about a little bit of this week in wrestling history? You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So this week in wrestling history, 1997, back in the heyday. Hopefully I didn't get yours.
No, you didn't. I'm 99 this time.
All right. So on WWE, which was WWF Raw back then, the stable or faction of Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chyna, and Rick Rude officially dubbed themselves as Degeneration X for the first time, while interrupting an in-ring segment with Vince McMahon and the Hart Foundation. There has been a lot of debate over the years about how the name Degeneration X came about. Bret Hart claimed, and I'm reading this verbatim here, that the New York Post columnist and frequent critic of the WWF, Phil Mushnick, came up with the name when he described the late 90s wrestling fan base, mainly from the Generation X demographic, as degenerates, he called them.
Yeah.
And in Shawn Michaels' autobiography, he claims that head writer Vince Russo came up with the name. So there's a little bit of argument there about who came up with the DX name. But either way, that was when it came about. And how many people remember Rick Rude being in the original DX? Like, that's just a distant memory.
I was literally going to ask you how much time there was between that and him having to, because it was an injury, right? Was it a back or neck or something like that for him? I can't remember.
Rick Rude neck, I believe.
There was some. I mean, it couldn't have been too long after that when he had to step away.
He retired from in-ring action before that.
Okay.
Like several years, I believe.
Okay, well, I was wondering. I don't.
He was kind of like an on-screen presence manager type guy. He was kind of almost like their bodyguard, beside Chyna,
Yeah.
But Rick Rude is the only guy that I know of in history that appeared on WWF Raw and WCW Nitro on the same night. Like back in the day when WWE taped 1 week and 1 week was live, he was on that show. And then the next week when it was taped, he had left the company and signed on with WCW, and he walked out during their show, and he was on both broadcasts that same night. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So interestingly enough, 1999 No Mercy pay-per-view also involves Chyna. So I don't think we've brought her up maybe at all much.
I don't think so.
But anyway, Jeff Jarrett was on his way out. He was leaving, and so he had the Intercontinental Championship, and they wrestled in what was called a good housekeeping match. I don't know where that comes from, but they got gimmicks. It's all about the gimmick. Yeah. And Chyna won the belt. She won the Intercontinental Championship. First woman to ever hold one of the men's division belts. And,
I remember that.
That was a big deal.
Did you know they had talked about making Chyna the men's world champion at one time?
Yeah.
Like they come close to doing it. Like which I mean, she was a freak of nature, man. She was crazy. But yeah, that was cool.
Amazing what that juice to do. I'm just saying, I ain't trying to be ugly, but it's
true.
It's just amazing what it do. The wrestlers, a lot of the wrestlers of this generation, and I don't really, I mean, like I said, I don't even watch wrestling, but you can't, if you got your eyes open to pop culture, they pop in and out. You're just aware. And a lot of them, it's not the same as it was in the 80s and the 90s. In the 80s and the 90s, every one of them looked like, what was that show? The Gladiator show, that used to come on, American Gladiator. And they all looked like that. They were all, all of them were over 6 foot tall and 300 pounds and
jacked mountains.
Yeah, just jacked up like crazy, So it's a lot different now. There's still big dudes, and there's some that look like that, but there's some that just look like your average, really good shape, just average build guy, And then the smaller weight divisions are more popular than they were then.
There's my kind of wrestlers out there too, like that one Kevin Owens, I think's his name.
Yeah,
he looks like just a guy.
I know.
He wears a t-shirt because his belly's kind of there, so he hides it. And I'm like, I could be that guy. Yeah, I could totally be that guy.
Well, so just like I said, that's one of the reasons why, not in character, but in build, I think that Mick Foley was always so relatable because he was your average guy. It's like, and look, I don't drink. I've never drank, but I know this expression has been used, hold my beer,
Yeah.
It's like, that guy that gets up off the couch and he's like, hold on a minute. I got this, and that's what it makes you think of. He was just an average middle-class American dude, in appearance. And maybe a little rougher than that, but, but, in build and all, that's what he put me in mind of, so.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Mick Foley.
Yeah. I don't bring him up all the time, but he's probably he's right near the top of the list for me, man.
Oh, he was unbelievable. The things he could do.
Yeah, he's just top 5, just entertaining wise. He's just fun.
He was
even still today. If you ever get to hear him interviewed, he's just a fun guy.
Oh yeah. All right, you ready to once again lose a dad joke battle?
Well, I mean, if you think that's what's going to happen, whatever makes you feel better.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes me feel great too.
Mine's weak. I feel like it's weak. I feel like it's funny, but I feel
giving up already.
No, I told you before the show started. I said I'm going to use one I've had for a while. It's a little cheesy, but I like it, so I'm just going to go for it. You never know how they're going to land until you swing. So let's just see what happens.
That's Josh tapping out.
How long do I need to set my clock for you to tell your joke? Is it going to be 5 minutes?
It's not going to take that long. Just about a minute. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Let's do this.
Story time. I'm not sure if you cut me off or not, so I'm going to say that one more time. Let's prepare ourselves for story time with Caleb.
He got the story time. Yes, I think I cut you off a little bit.
I thought, how rude, man.
All right, so here we go. It's not going to take 5 minutes. Take about a minute. All right.
Okay.
I hope I haven't told this one already. I can't remember what I told. I try to delete them as soon as I use them, but I forget sometimes. All right, so a husband and wife were driving through Louisiana. As they approach Natchitoches, they start arguing about the pronunciation of the town. They argue back and forth. Then they stop for lunch. At the counter, the husband asks the blonde waitress, before we order, could you please settle an argument for us? Would you please pronounce where we are very slowly? She leaned over the counter and said, Burger King.
Oh, man. No, that's not too bad. That's not what I was expecting. So,
yeah.
All right. So mine's really short. Okay.
Really short.
So I took a new job last week. I got hired to assist a one-armed typist. Found out it's mostly shift work.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
Mostly shift work. Yeah. One-armed typist. Wow. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I told you, it's all about how it lands. You just can't predict it, man.
All about how it lands. That's for sure. you'll always get your old faithful Glenn Bill. He'll be there for you.
Look, though, is it not funny though? Like these type of jokes. I'll say this for me, like if you're just sitting around, and you decide to read stuff like that, reading through them. Sometimes it takes you a little while for you to get warmed up to them. You read 3 or 4, and then before long, you find yourself laughing at stuff that if someone just told you out of the blue, you wouldn't even crack a smile.
Yeah.
And then it just builds and it grows. And it's like the sillier they get, the more you laugh,
Yeah.
And then you start thinking to yourself, why am I even laughing at this? But, I think sometimes we just need to laugh,
100%.
We've said a lot. Laughter doeth good like a medicine.
It sure does.
So,
merry heart. Got to have it. Got to be able to smile and laugh.
That's right.
Yep. That's why I keep you around, where I can smile and laugh.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's one of the best reasons to not just listen to us, but put our faces up there, because all you got to do is look at the screen, and you have plenty of reason to laugh.
Here it is, right here.
Man. Goodness.
So everybody listening on the audio side, you need to come hang out on YouTube. That's what we're trying to say.
At least once. Put a face to the name.
That is all it'll take. You'll be like, never again.
Oh, you'll be scarred from then on. All you'll have to do is close your eyes. You'll automatically see our faces when you hear us talk.
Oh, Lord. They'll never be back.
Exactly. Not live and in person. Oh, man.
All right. Well, this has been episode 71. 2 old guys have woke up. We are back. And any last words before we head out?
I think I'm good. Love you guys. Appreciate every one of you. If you stay on this long, you're real dedicated. We appreciate it.
100%. You're 100% loyal to 2 old guys that forget everything. So we can't even remember our names half the time.
If you got any suggestions, how about that? Those of you that watch the whole show, if you got any suggestions, things that we've talked about or subjects we've approached, segments or directions to go that you think would be interesting or that you would like to know more about, let us know. Give us some ideas. We've been talking about it ourselves. We want it to be helpful, but we also want it to be a good escape, good, wholesome escape, fun escape. So if you got any ideas, shoot them out there. Who knows? We might take you up on one of them.
Absolutely. Comments always welcome.
Yes. All
right. Well, that'll do it for episode 71. We'll see you guys next time here on 2 Old. I can't make a G. Guys.
I can't do any of it.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.